Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to The Truth. Where I just want to say this real quick. I apologize for not uploading the video yesterday. I was super busy. I didn't have time to do it. I apologize. So this video is going to be a little bit longer than typically how I'd like to do a Wednesday video, but that's okay. We'll get back to talking about college. They updated the rankings and stuff. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about how week 1 went. This is typically how I'm going to discuss NFL. Will be week 1 on Tuesdays. I'll go over it. Let me get this out of the way for y'all. I'll go over it, and then I'll also on Tuesdays, and I'll also cover new rankings for teams and a preview of who they're going to play this week. And then Sunday we'll cover not Sunday. On Wednesday we'll cover predictions and updated news for whatever, before that game, kind of like breaking. This is like, he's not going to play. This player's, stuff like that. And then hope for Wednesdays, and then hopefully Sundays to Mondays, if I can get a video in one of those 2 days, I'll try to. There'll be recaps of college football and recap, hey, what's going on, top 25, who lost, who won, who's still in, all that good stuff. And then maybe a sprinkle a little bit of NFL news in there too. Maybe we'll see what happens. Like if a trade or something happens late, we'll see. Yeah, let's get into it. These are the updated lists of all the scores and all of the teams who won. Thank you, playoff predictors. They're nice and they do that. It's amazing for free. Thank you. So let's dive into week 1. Jaguars versus Colts. 31-21. It's a little deceiving, to say the least. The Jaguars, they put up a lot of points and they looked good. Looked really good. The 14 points for the Colts came in the fourth quarter. Just kind of like, I don't want to say like just points that happen whenever teams are just trying to catch up and they're really behind in the fourth quarter. It's not typically like that. The Jaguars defense did play a little bad that fourth quarter, but honestly, it's week 1. It was week 1, so I'm not really too crazy about that. But really, the score, if Jaguars defense played the full game like how they should have, it should have been 31-7. And that's impressive. Anthony Richardson made some things happen as a rookie, which was nice. But look, Calvin Ridley, that Jaguars offense looked good. That Jaguars defense looked good. And it's going to be interesting to see what they will do next week, which we'll hop into in a little bit. Just finishing this. Bengals versus Browns. And this is one of the reasons why I picked the Browns, was because the Bengals just struggle week 1. I don't know why, if that's kind of because they don't, I guess, I don't know. I don't think they play their starters in the preseason, or so they don't do it a lot. And that's the reason why you have a lot of sloppy games this week 1. But, they struggle week 1, and that's why I wanted to pick the Browns. I didn't think it was going to be this bad, 3-24, but I don't expect that to be the rest of the season for the Bengals. But good stuff for the Browns. There's good momentum. Good early division game you can get in. 9-25, Texans versus Baltimore Ravens. That passing game wasn't really – it didn't look how Baltimore fans wanted it, or any fans who wanted to see Lamar throw the ball. It was different. It wasn't what we expected. We expected Lamar to light it up, and he didn't. Look, I think the running back got injured. I don't know if he's going to play the rest of the season or not. But they won the game, nevertheless. And as long as Lamar's there, as long as Lamar can run, and as long as Lamar can just deliver the ball. I know Mark Andrews didn't. I believe he didn't play. When Mark Andrews comes back, as long as he can deliver the ball to where it needs to go, as long as he takes what the defense gives him, basically what I'm saying, and he can scramble, they'll be fine. Their defense will help them out. Going on the Texans side, look, we all kind of knew it was going to be one of those games. They did fight, and they kept fighting, but they just couldn't do it in the week 1. But that's okay. First-year head coach, rookie quarterback, it's fine. Like, I'm not panicking like, oh no. It's like, okay, this was expected. We kind of figured this would happen. This was going on the next game. This was surprising. Raiders versus Broncos. I thought this game was going to be a little different. I'm kind of surprised with how the Broncos played. I thought that offense would have clicked a little bit better. I didn't think it was going to be amazing, week one, but I thought it was going to be better. You know, to only have 16 points is a little disappointing just because you expect Sean Payton to help out with the offense a lot. Hope maybe it'll change, as the season goes on, they'll get better and better. But it literally is. I know there's a meme going around. It is a repeat of week one last year where it was 16-17 Broncos, Seahawks win. I remember that game. I watched that game. I was like, whoa. That was my first taste of Geno Smith, which was interesting. Yeah, let's talk about it. I mean, that defense looked good. It was really that offense. I just didn't feel like it was clicking. I feel like the tone was set whenever the Broncos onside kicked it and caught it too early. I feel like that really set the tone for the game of, yeah, it's probably how it's going to be the rest. This is kind of the feeling it's going to be. And it kind of was. But look, good win for the Raider. Literally every other team in the Raiders division lost. So it is week one, but good stuff for them, I guess. This game was exciting. Dolphins versus Chargers. I believe I took the Chargers, but I'm not surprised. My main thing was Tua's health, and that's going to be the whole thing this season. But if Tua can put up numbers like these, he'll be amazing. The Dolphins will easily make the playoffs. 36-34. I want to see that defense step up more. I want to see that defense do better. 34 points is a lot, and you can't average that many points allowed in defense. But it is week one, like I said before. We'll see what continues and goes on. Bills versus Jets. I was same thing with the Bengals. I'm disappointed, but I'm not shocked just because it's week one. Stuff happens. The reason I say I'm disappointed is because for the Jets, 4 plays in, Rodgers gets injured. And, this is where I feel like it was a turning moment for the Bills. Because, look, Rodgers, I felt like, was the catalyst of this offense, and he was going to make the right reads and do whatever he needed to do. I believe I had the Bills winning it originally, but I believed Roger could take care of what needed to be taken care of. And to see him get injured, I believe he tore his Achilles. He's out for the season. Hope he recovers. Prayers head his way. Pray for him. But to see the Bills not take that opportunity really sucked offensively. Because, look, let's be honest. Zach Wilson is not Aaron Rodgers. But needless to say, he did what he had to do. And that was a little disappointing. And the defense, too. But I believe they weren't expecting Zach Wilson to really get a snap in this game. But, it is what it is. AFC versus NFC. Look, the Lions shocked the world being Kansas City. I think everyone's talking about that. Look, it happened. They dropped a lot of balls. It happened. Oh, well. This was one of those games. It was the first game of the year. Sloppy football. That's really what I throw it up to. Good one by the Lions. Great one by the Lions for being the world champions. 49ers versus Steelers. I picked the 49ers to win this game. I did not think they were going to win by this much. That defense looked amazing. The only downside I had to say about that defense was Nick Bosa. But look, I don't think he practiced at all. I think as soon as he signed his contract, either it was Saturday or the day after, he went and played in that game. So, yeah, he's probably not going to make a big impact. I believe next week he'll probably get closer on path to where he was last year. But, yeah, no, great win by 49ers. Brock Purdy looked amazing. Christian McCaffrey still looked great. And we'll keep seeing how it is because I think, look, the 49ers can put up points like that. They can run with the Eagles, I think. They can really I always wasn't too sure on how the 49ers would be compared to the Eagles. I feel confident after that one, but it is week one, so I will hold caution. But if they can build off of that and keep going, yeah, they're impressive. 15-16. How do I feel about this Titans versus Saints game? I feel like the only negative I can say for the Saints was that offensive line. Yeah, I can mention the Derek Carr pick, but if you listen to the interview, if you did all of that, he he wasn't he I'm trying to think of the right words. Derek Carr was a little gun happy, I guess you could say. You know, he felt like he was making all the throws, and then he just threw one bad ball. But look, the same reason why I think Jameis didn't pan out. One of the reasons why Jameis didn't pan out well in New Orleans, he got a little gun happy. Um, well, Jameis also he did get injured, so both years. So I do think it's also a major factor. But look, you can't do that as a quarterback in the NFL. You will throw a pick. It happens, you know. But I feel like that was kind of the wild card factor. You know, that's if so. But the one big thing is I think it's that O line. Can that O line be better? I know the O line looked a lot better last year. Continuing on, Trevor Penning got injured, so he wasn't able to play, and that's my big thing is Trevor Penning. But look, he didn't get reps last year. I mean, he didn't get game reps last year, so this isn't surprising against a really good Titans defensive line. And transitioning into that, the Titans. If Derrick Henry wasn't in that game, I think the Titans don't score a single point. He really felt like the catalyst of that offense. And that's what kind of scares me. It's just because what happens when you do face a good secondary? Like, what happens when, they do play Jacksonville? They play them twice a year. What happens when Jacksonville's able to stop that secondary? You're only able to put up 15 points because you don't utilize Derrick Henry the fullest. And Tajay Spears doesn't get the yard you need. It's disappointing because you want to see that do better. It was really tough for Tannehill because at some points he was forcing the ball to D-Hop a lot, and that got him in trouble. He wasn't looking at the whole field. I remember in that game I watched it, there were a couple blown calls or missed opportunities from that Titans offense to really take the game away, and they didn't capitalize or they just didn't go after them. And that's really the sad part, is because that was a winnable game for either team, I believe. Either team was a winnable game, but Ryan Tannehill really hurt that team. That defense looked good. At some points, it was like, dang, you got to play more sound football, but that's because it's week one. You're missing that connection. And the same thing with the Saints defense. Even though they played really well, you still had points where they missed that connection. Tannehill, I felt like really hurt them. I don't remember hearing Traylon Burks' name called a lot. And I don't necessarily know. I will have to dive into that. If that's Traylon Burks' fault or is that Ryan Tannehill not taking that opportunity's fault? But like I said before, Derrick Henry was that offense last week. And it's been that offense. And that's the thing, though. Like, how long will it be until Derrick Henry isn't? Like, at what point will the Titans, I guess, organization go, look, we need to really fix this offense because you don't have enough weapons. And that's just the sad truth on offense. The defense is there. I mean, the defense is good, but you don't have enough offense. You don't have enough weapons to keep up. But we'll monitor it week by week. That's how I felt. I don't want to overreact to anything because it is week one. But that's how I felt during that game. Eagles, Patriots, wet game, rainy game, week one game, sloppy football. That's how it felt. Eagles win one. Not surprising. I was surprised how close the score was, but not surprising. And kind of the same thing with the Cardinals versus the Commanders. Thought the Commanders were going to win a little bit more. Not surprised. Or a little surprising. Sloppy football. You know how it goes. Let's get into the Panthers versus Falcons game. Bryce Young struggled. That Panthers O-line struggled. I don't know necessarily that's because they just need experience or they're just that bad. I'm not sure. We'll see. Like the Saints offensive line, we'll see. It's just going to take time. And they could get better or they could stay the same. Um, Falcons looked good. That Falcons defense looked good. Let me talk about the Panthers and we'll get into the Falcons because I have a couple things to say about the Falcons. The Panthers, the one thing, the offensive line hurt, but because of the offensive line hurting, I feel like Bryce Young struggled more than he should have as a rookie quarterback, especially with how highly touted we had him. And he's taking a lot of hits. I think the NFL said it was like 40 something percent of his dropbacks he was under pressure. That's not good. You have to fix that. But that D-line looked good. I believe J.C. Horn got injured with a hamstring. That's going to suck for them. But it's just, man, it's a rough start. And I hope they can turn it around. Just because losing your number one corner and your offensive line just doing badly in the first week one, it is a little demoralizing, to say the least, because you spent so much capital on Bryce Young and you give away your number one receiver. It feels like you might have taken a step back for week one standards, for week one wise. But we'll see. Maybe we end the season saying, yeah, early on they struggled, but dang, down the stretch they were good, and that's going to be something to look up to. Falcons looked, defensive line looked good, secondary looked good, offensive line, running game looked good, but the passing game was the only one thing I will say. And it goes back to how I feel about the Falcons draft. Look, I love the fact that y'all picked up Bijan Robinson. I'm a Falcons fan. I love it. I think it's cool that you give him another weapon. I think it's not how should I say this? I think Bijan as a player is great. I just think it was the wrong pick. Because you don't instead help out Desmond Ridder. And I think that's what really hurt him. Kyle Pitts really wasn't utilized this game. That passing game wasn't how it should be if you want to compete. And that's the thing though. Like if I'm gonna say one thing, I'll say this for sure. The NFC South are gonna have really good defenses. Without counting in injury, they should have really good defenses. So you're gonna have to be able to move the ball on both sides. On both sides, the running game and the passing game. And like whenever the Falcons play New Orleans, on how they lean heavily, I think it's going to be another Titans game where it's, man, your offense run. I think it's going to be another Titans game, but not successful. Like, man, you really tried, but look, you didn't have the weapons. I feel like that's where they really went wrong. I really felt like they should have went after another receiver in the draft because I don't know if Matt Collins can step up and be that number two. We've seen Scotty Miller be the number three, but I don't know if Matt Collins can step up and be that number two. And that's the question is like, yeah, we know you have that number one, but what about that number two and that number three to click into along with Kyle Pitts? It's just not there yet. I don't know. Maybe it will be, but it is going to be something to monitor. Going into the Buccaneers versus the Vikings game. Look, I know. Look, that Vikings offense at first looked really promising because Justin Jefferson had so many yards. I mean, it just felt like you keep throwing him, he's going to keep going and going and going. And then they did in the second half. And I need to look into why. I should look into why. Maybe he got double covered or maybe Kirk Cousins didn't throw to him. I don't know why. I'll have to find out. But Look, good work for Baker Mayfield. We saw this in the preseason. Look, he fit the ball into really good spots. We know he struggled a lot during training camp and all of that, but he looked good this game. We'll see how long that continues, though. Look, is this going to be another bounce back year for Baker and continue that pattern, or maybe finally break it, or is it going to be a bad year for Baker? And that's the question. That really is the question because the Bucks could be a good team. It really comes down to offensive coordinating. If they can, I believe they can call the right plays because they have the right weapons, and then Baker's play. Can he limit the turnovers? Because I believe if he can limit the turnovers, they could be a good team. Packers versus Bears. Man, that Packers D line looked good stopping the run in Justin Fields. It really, and the Packers offense looked great. The Bears often struggled, and you can see that their defense struggled too. But I want to see how much Jordan Love can continue to grow and to show me that he is who he says he is. And moving on to the next game, Rams versus Seahawks. I was shocked. Um, the Rams really surprised me. They played really well, and I can't wait for Cooper Cup to come back. Just because I think no, and if they avoid injuries, this could be a really dominant offense. Um, the Seahawks, disappointing game. Offensively, defensively, but it is the divisional game. It is week one, so I don't. I'm trying. When I'm talking about these games, I'm trying not to overreact. Not to say hit the panic button or this team's going to do really well. It's going to be great. I don't know yet because it's week one. It's too early to make this judgment. I feel like we can start making that judgment fourth way through the season. Like, okay, this team is grooving, barring injury, they'll probably do well. Um, Cowboys versus Giants. I think we all knew the Cowboys were going to. Well, I think majority of us knew the Cowboys were going to win, but not by this margin. Like not by 40 points, 40-0. It is week one though. It's hard to judge, but they did well, and we'll want to see how they do continue to do. Moving on to next week, let's go through. Let's go through the teams. The Chiefs are coming off of a mini bye, or basically they played the earliest possible game. They played a Thursday game, but they had more days to recover and prepare because it was basically the start of the season. And so they had 10 days without no penalty. Like they weren't playing through a season, had to play an early game, then, that's how it was. I don't know. I feel like if Kelsey's in this game, then give me the Chiefs. But if he's not, I think the Jaguars do have a possibility to upset. It really comes down to, are the receivers going to play well? I know that defense is going to do better because they just re-signed, I believe, Chris Jones. I believe that's who it was. I can check real quick. Not re-sign. Yeah, Chris Jones. The Chiefs extend Chris Jones, so that's going to be interesting to see because I think that defense will be better because of him. They're not playing the Colts, so it's going to be a tougher game. It's in Jacksonville, though. Give me the Chiefs. I believe in the Chiefs until proven otherwise. But I wouldn't be shocked if Jacksonville won. Ravens versus Bengals. Bengals really struggled early on last season, and it took them a little bit to get going. And I think that's how it's going to be this year too. Maybe not as long, but I think this year. So give me the Ravens. But like the Jaguars game. I could see it going the other way. I think this one's obviously the Bills. If the Bills lose to the Raiders, it's going to be a really rough season for them, I believe. Because you can't have back-to-back really bad games. I don't think the Raiders are going to do well this game. This is a tough one. Chargers versus Tennessee. That Chargers defense isn't going to be as good as New Orleans, but can they do enough? And I don't know. Because I don't know. I don't know if the Chargers defense can do enough. It's hard for me to pick the Titans, though, because they threw 3 interceptions. How sloppy is Ryan Tannehill going to play before he either gets switched out or they lose this game? That's kind of what I'm debating with myself right now. Because I believe the Chargers are going to put up a lot of points. I think that's the reason we want to choose them. Colts versus Texans. I don't believe that the Texans have. I don't believe the Texans have that. How should I say this? I don't know if CJ Stroud has the chemistry enough to put together multiple back-to-back-to-back wins. And I can say the same thing for Anthony Richardson too. But Anthony Richardson looked more promising for the Colts. I guess that's why I'll pick them. I think the Texans will go 1-2. That's another one I could see the other way going because it is in Houston. It's hard for me to pick the Patriots in this game. I could see it happening, but just because the Dolphins put up so many points week 1. I mean, they're going to sling it. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Browns versus Steelers. The Browns did win. The Steelers lost. Do I think they can turn it around? Do I think the Steelers can turn it around against the Browns? I guess, yeah, give me the Steelers. It's hard for me to see. Look, the Steelers haven't. Whoopsie. Sorry, guys. It's hard for me to see the Steelers not having a winning season. So, based off of that logic, it's hard for me to see the Steelers losing to 2 bad games. Yeah, I guess you could say that. It's hard for me to see them like that. Look, I think that secondary is going to be a little bit better. It's just hard for me to see. But I could, it's possible, but I do believe the Steelers will have a bounce back game. But I really could be totally wrong. Jets versus Cowboys. Give me the Cowboys. That defense looks really good, even though Dak. I know a lot of people think Dak played really mediocre. I haven't seen enough to really say that so far, but that with Zach Wilson coming in and that offensive line not being well, give me the Cowboys. Broncos versus Washington. Washington did play really close to the Cardinals. And that's where it's kind of like, I don't think Washington. It's really hard for me to see Sean Payton starting 0-2. That offense starting 0-2 and doing back-to-back poorly, especially against the Commanders. Now, I know they have a good defense. Man, now I'm thinking about it. I don't know. You know what? Yeah, give me Broncos. I like that defense. I really like that defense. Better than our Washington offense. Eagles versus Vikings. I think the Eagles will win this game. That defense, I believe, is better than offense. I do think Jordan Jefferson and maybe Addison might get open a little bit, but I definitely think Jefferson's going to get open unless they double him. I think he's gonna have a really good game. I think this is gonna be a really good season for the Buccaneers. I gotta pick them. I just have to. Like, it just feels like the better team at the moment. Um, Falcons versus Packers. That's another tough. There's a lot of tough games. It's in Atlanta. That Packers defense looked good. Give me Green Bay. It could be Atlanta could win this one. But I think Jair's still playing. Give me Green Bay. I like their defense, and that's the reason I'm choosing them. I'm not sure about their offense. That's why I'm not confident with it. Seattle versus Detroit. Give me Detroit. They have that extra rest. They have more time. I know Seattle starting 0-2. I think Geno Smith's good. I think they'll get going. But give me Detroit. I like that. I like how that team's playing. I like their mentality. 49ers versus Rams. Two teams who played really well and are going to play against each other. Really exciting game. Give me San Fran just because I think that defense is going to be a little better than the Rams defense. I think both offenses are going to be good. So, New York versus Arizona. It's hard for me to pick Arizona, dude. Like, unless they just shock me, it's hard for me to pick them just because of how their roster looks. And they traded one of their defensive starters to New York. I think it's a matter of time before New York starts hitting their groove and starts getting going. I don't fully believe in those receivers, but I'm believing in that defense to get better and to do what they need to do. Coming down to this game, I don't know how to feel about the New Orleans Saints versus Panthers game. Look, I like New Orleans defense better than the Panthers. I like New Orleans offense better than the Panthers. I like their receivers more, their tight end more. Right now, their quarterback more. Bryce Young could overtake that. But right now, I like Derek Carr. I like the offensive line of New Orleans. I believe New Orleans played a really good Tennessee D line. I feel like that was better than the Panthers O line playing against Atlanta's D line. So I think New Orleans offensive line, it's not going to be drastically easier. I think it'll be a little bit easier. I want to see improvement. If I believe early on they might end up chipping Brian Burns and helping out Trevor Penning, but I think that offense will groove a little bit better in the run game. So I think they'll be better. Right now, give me the Panthers running back core. Right now, until Kendrick Miller, give me until Alvin Kamara comes back. I don't know what we're going to get out of Kendrick Miller. But going on to the defense, right now I like the defensive line for the Saints over the Panthers defensive line. It could change, but I like the Saints defensive line. I like the Saints linebackers more than I like the Panthers. I like the Saints secondary more than I like the Panthers. It's tough. Like, I want most points point to, I should probably pick the Saints, right? But historically, they haven't done well week 2. Like, they've lost a lot of week 2 games. And that's what's tearing me apart is I believe the Saints should win. But will they? I guess I'll pick them. Because I'll pick New Orleans because they have the better team right now. The Panthers could very well at the end of this year have a better team. They could. It's possible. But right now, I think New Orleans is going to be the better team. I do believe they'll probably split unless Bryce Young just has a really rough season this year. I believe they'll probably split. But, give me New Orleans. And that's going to be the end of the video for – actually, no, it's not. Because we're going to go over reactions to the polls. Georgia being ranked number 1, that makes sense. Michigan being ranked number 1. Florida State moving up to number 3, makes sense. Texas, after being Bama, bumps up to 4. I don't know how to feel about that because USC was 6, and I could easily have seen USC move to 4. But I'll say this. If USC... I want to see how that game plays out because you can make a case for either Texas or USC to be at number 4. Ohio State, they bumped down one. I don't know why they bumped down one. Like I know. Here's my opinion on the top 25 polls. If you're at that spot, unless you lose a game, I don't think you should be taken out of that spot. You have to lose a game and prove why. That's why I think when like Alabama or LSU loses, if they dropped out of the top 25 because they lost the game and all the other teams are undefeated, it makes sense. But look, even though I think they're better than a lot of teams, you have to prove it record-wise. I know this is going based off of points and stuff, but like, look, you have to prove it record-wise. And that's my personal opinion. That's why even though I knew that TCU wasn't going to win it all, I believe they deserved to be it, just like how I believe Cincinnati deserved to be it because they did their job and won their schedule handsomely. Let's go to Penn State. Penn State, that's a good team to watch, to keep an eye on. I'm not surprised they're doing that. Washington stays the same as well. That's another team to keep an eye on. Notre Dame moves up a spot. Like I said, way in week 0. Notre Dame's a team to keep an eye on. Look, they're 3-0. They're one of the few teams who are 3-0 right now. And that's big when you can get ahead of your schedule. If they end the season undefeated, I think there's a case to be made that they should be in the top 4. Just like USC. There's a case to be made. So I expect if another team loses in front of them, I expect them to keep moving up until they lose. I feel like that's what really everyone's waiting on is when are they going to lose? When are they going to lose? We'll see. I know it's going to be interesting. This really airs the big one where a lot of teams move around and stuff. I know Texas on the AFCA coaches poll. That's really there. I'm looking at the AP top 25 because that's really what's going to dictate that's the majority following what people follow. So that's the one I'll be following, just to scammer. Alabama being 10th. It's hard for me to say Alabama should be ahead of LSU. And here's why. Here's the case I'm going to make because it makes the most sense. Even though Alabama lost closer to Texas, LSU played a higher-ranked team and they lost. So what happens if Bama would have played Florida State? Would we have seen the same record? I don't know. The same score? I don't know. But LSU played a better team and lost. And then LSU had even though it was an FCS school, they had a really good win. So it's kind of like to see LSU at 14 and Bama only drop to 10th, kind of like, But we'll see. We'll see how the schedule plays out. They do play against each other, so we'll get the answer eventually. Tennessee, that's the only thing. How is Tennessee dropping back 2 spots if they're undefeated? I feel like you just gotta work your way up. You gotta wait till a team in front of you loses. I feel like that's how it is. Utah stays the same. Oregon stays the same. LSU stays the same. Not surprising. Kansas State. Even though the Bama thing, I'll say not surprising. Kansas State stays the same. Kansas State. Ole Miss moving up. Colorado moving up. I think Colorado is going to gain a lot of steam. Oklahoma dropping back. You know my points. North Carolina. You know my points. Duke, another team to look out for. Really interesting. They're 2-0 right now. Really, really interesting. Miami 2-0. Washington State 2-0. 2-0. 2-0. So we'll see. We'll see. Texas A&M is out of the top 25 after a loss against Miami. We'll see if Miami pops their head in. Coach's poll says they're in. We'll see Coach's poll and the AP. So we'll see if they can continue on the roll. We'll see. But that's going to be the end of the video. Thank you all for watching. Comment what you want me to talk about next, if anything. Thank you for watching. Seriously. Keep your prayers up for the players who have been injured. Hopefully they can come back and continue to enjoy the game and play well and make money. Thank you all for watching, and see y'all next time.